Recently, there's been a debate about interracial dating and marriages and things like that. And before I begin, this is not an attack on biracial people or people that have mixed DNA. This is a video to enlighten us, to be hot or cold, and to purge our DNA, especially we Hebrews of other nations. Now this is multi-layered, and when I'm done, there should be little or no question about is this right or wrong. Short answer about is interracial marriage and dating right or wrong, look in the Bible. And I will get to those many verses about it being wrong. You won't find one verse, however, saying that it is right. Not one. But let me get started into this. Out of all we've been through, you know, you have Europeans, white people, pretending to be us. But we want to mix ourselves with them. Think about it. And I'm going to get into scripture how we started abandoning our own heritage when we start mingling with other nations. Think about it. You're mixing yourself. You're mingling. So what the Most High give becomes watered down. What he gave us becomes less important because we start focusing on the other side and the other nations. But DNA. Now you get a DNA test, and you know that's one way to tell you what your blood is made of. The nation of Israel was created one way. We had one bloodline, and throughout Scripture, we were told to maintain our bloodline. But let me get started. Let me get started. All right. Now, when a black person and a white person have a child, most people say the child is black. Okay. To you, I say black is a color, not a nationality. What nation are you? When you become mixed, intermingle with other nations, what nation, what's your nationality? See what I'm saying? You said a child is black. Okay, black is a color, not a nationality. Okay? The original Hebrews didn't have European and Asian DNA. These are facts. Let me keep going. Let me see. Let me get rid of him for now. Now this is a thing I'm looking at the Australians, and this is 3 generations to get rid of the black person, to get rid of your Hebraic DNA. Okay, you got a half blood right here, and you got a quadroon daughter, and look right here. You can't even tell he was ever black. You can't tell his family is black or Hebrew at all. This can be a firm indicator. Look at all the commercials, how they promote this. And if the world is promoting something, something is wrong. Okay? Just look at it. Half blood. Quadroon. She look white right there. She look white, you know. But he sure enough is white. He is no longer Aboriginal. Let me see what I got here. Let me see. Now, Aboriginal. How did the people go from this? Or Australian? How did they go from this to this? conquest and intermingling. Think about it. How did the Arabs go from this to this? These are all the ones you see in the news. They European looking, white looking. Let me see. This becomes a problem when people begin to realize that Christianity has lied to them. They try to find the real nation of Israel. Where are they going to be able to look? How were we described in the Bible? As being dark-skinned and hair like wool, black, not intermingled. Our heritage, our keeping of the word, walking upright before the Most High, obeying His laws, statutes, and commandments. But having, through disobedience, we say the law is done away with. We keep the holidays of the heathens. And all these holidays are pagan and Satan worship. Let me see what I got here. Okay, let me just. Now, how did the Arabs go from this? How did the Arabs go from this? Look. Just look. Black. To this. Intermingling. Okay? You are not improving yourselves. The reason why some of us think we are improving ourselves is because we have been brainwashed through their media. Let's look. The Egyptians. And look what they show you. Black, you're a slave. White, you're royalty. See? And it continues on today. Look at this mess. What's this? Gods of Egypt, whatever this is, Exodus, whatever. Christian Bale movie about him being Moses. Let me see here. Let me move on. Same thing. Conquest. The Greeks, when they started taking over Egypt and stuff. I just want to just see what's going on. How did the red man or the black man go from this to this? $5 Indian. Let me blow him up right quick. See that black Cherokee Indian Native American warrior? You see that? I'm going to show a video right after this. How some of the Indians had Hebrew writings. And how the Native Americans, in the original definition, 1828 Webster, were copper color or dark skin. Let me get through this first. Let me see. Let's look. I've seen people white just like this talking about they Native American. I don't say nothing. I know what it is. All right. There's a reason why I have this here. You see red skin. Now this right here could be taken to an offense like the word nigger. You know, think about it. Look at his complexion. Black man. Just look. All right, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the Europeans' own dictionary and show you that Native Americans are black people originally. Using their own dictionary. This is the Webster Dictionary, 1828. You can look it up. It's a real book. It's not fictitious. Webster Dictionary, 1828. See it? And here's the definition of American. Putting it up there so you can read it. An American, adjective pertaining to America. Okay. All right. Now, a native of America. Now get this. Originally, that means the first. Applied to the aboriginals or copper-colored races. Black people. You see that? Now, white people are called Americans. You see how untruthful this is. Can't even find the words for this lie, these lies. You see that? To the copper-colored races found here by the Europeans. See, that's a different race right there. European and the original people. They wasn't called American, but that's the definition. It's telling you that the original Indians are black people. But now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. See, when they steal nationalities, they steal languages, they steal lands, they steal resources.
In 1860, David Wyrick, he's a guy who surveyed the Newark earthworks. He was digging into a mound near those earthworks, and he found a wooden coffin made of oak. They opened up the coffin and found a skeleton of a man holding a little box. It was about 8.10 inches in size. The box had been cemented shut here. This, by the way, is sitting in Ohio. Well, he opened up the box and he found a little man inside, a little black stone. They took it to scholars, and they looked at it. The man seems to be carrying something, and there's writing here at first they couldn't recognize. The writing is, they thought in 1860, some sort of Hebrew. Well, finally, about 20 years later, they found some rabbis living in the area, and the rabbis looked at that, and they could read it. They said it was an old kind of block Hebrew, and it was a rendition of the 10 Commandments. Now, this is another piece. Block Hebrew, they said they'd never seen anything like it. Mainstream archaeologists at the time called this a hoax. But then in 1900, or just about after 1900, in Israel, they found the same block-style Hebrew writing. Mainstream archaeologists still dismissed the findings. They found it in Israel, and they found it in Ohio. But there was another stone that they found that they couldn't argue. This is the Bat Creek stone. It was found during the course of an official Smithsonian evacuation. The Smithsonian didn't understand the meaning of the writing on the stone. They thought it was Cherokee, since it came from Cherokee country. They didn't realize that it's actually Hebrew. They had published this originally upside down. They threw it in a box at the bottom of the Smithsonian, put it in the basement. Many years later, a scholar took it out of the box, looked at it, and went, oh my gosh, it's upside down. It's Phoenician, ancient Hebrew. So what's going on here? What is that about? Where is that history?
Brought here by Hebrew people in search of a new promised land. I want to know if this stone, inscribed with the 10 Commandments, might have been kept inside the ark, or was it left behind as a clue that one of the Bible's most sacred artifacts is right here in the United States?
This is the Decalogue stone with the 10 Commandments written on it on all sides of it. And this is a stone box that the Decalogue was found in.
Okay.
So when it was found, it was enclosed in this box, and you couldn't even see the stone inside. The box is carved out inside exactly to fit the Decalogue stone.
Well, who's that guy?
Well, this figure here on the front that's wearing a robe and a turban and holding either tablets or a breastplate, and over his head in these Hebrew letters it says Moshe or Moses.
Oh.
So must be Moses.
Okay, that's Moses, all right.
Who delivered the 10 Commandments.
10 Commandments, okay. It seems to pass the scrutiny of the skeptics as far as the Hebrew text in the language, so now I'd like to try to add some evidence to this whole discussion.
This thing is polished after it was carved.
It's scratched like I would expect. Well, it fits snug.
So the box in itself took an awful lot of work. I mean, if it was really a forgery, you wouldn't go to all that much trouble to make a box for it. So I think that speaks to its authenticity, that someone really this was very important to someone.
This is a lot of work, and it's polished. It's got the detailing of the grooves. It wasn't made, as far as I can tell, from modern machinery. Geologically, I don't see any problems here that would make these things obvious hoaxes. So the skeptics have rejected this.
Well, that's been a factor, but Hebrew is an odd thing to find here.
The fact that it's odd doesn't mean that it's not genuine. What it boils down to is really the problem with these artifacts is that the academics don't like them because they don't fit the paradigm. And unfortunately for them, you can't dismiss things simply because you don't like them.
Right.
And so the evidence to me seems clear. There's no reason not to accept these as genuine, legitimate art.
No, I heard people sometimes say, it doesn't matter, we all the same. Well, that's not true. Genetically, we are not the same. Let me get over into these Bible verses and things. And just I'll be back. Just give you something else to look at in Bible verses. Let me go over here first. Let me see. One more. Okay. Now, these bears are all different. Just look at it. Just look at it different. Just say they different nations of people. Just got to unwash the brainwashing. If you got the grizzly, you got the sloth bear, you can clearly tell that they are different. That these two bears are not the same. The Asiatic black bear. Anyway, you got different species of bear. And right now, since the ice is melting, the polar bear is in danger. The ice is melting. Now, what would happen to the polar bear if we start mixing with all other bears? The offspring would be neither one of these bears. If any one of these bears mix cross species, neither one, the offspring would be neither one. Y'all got to understand that. Okay? Satan has manipulated mankind's DNA. So keep that in mind. Let me continue. Let me delete this. All right, I'm gonna give you identical. People say all of us are the same. But the definition say similar in every detail. Exactly alike. Let me move over here right quick. Let me see. Let me move. One more. I maybe done passed it. I covered it up. Just bear with me. If we all the same, okay, how come some of us get sunburned and some don't? If we the same. Huh? If we all the same, why do some of us get sunburned? If we all the same. If we all the same, why do some of us get eye cancer? If we all the same. See, we've been lied to. That's why our eyes are dark. To keep from getting cancer. Because we belong to hot regions. Okay? We are not the same. We gotta get rid of that lie. Okay? Develop, it says exactly alike, identical. We are not identical. Let's put that lie to bed right now. Now this is, these are identical. They're the same. They're not the same person, but you get where I'm coming from. They look the same. See what I'm saying? They dress the same. They got the same parents. The same bloodline. Okay? Now, if you mix either one of these drinks, you no longer have a Pepsi or a Coca-Cola. You got a mixture. Same thing with these. You mix into this, you got a mixture. You don't have one or the other. You have a combination. Okay. And move on. Now, guess I'll go right here. Matthew 27. Matthew 27. Okay. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines, pestilence, earthquakes in various places. This is a prophecy of the end time. That word nation is ethnos, ethnic, DNA, your kind, your tribe, your bloodline. That's what the word nation is. I'm about to show it to you. You see that ethnos? Ethnicity. Ethnos. Probably from ethno. A race. See? Races going to be fighting against each other. Nation will rise. Let me see. Against nation. See that ethno at the bottom again? This is what the Bible says. And we wonder where this racism coming from. And then you look at Daniel, and when it's talking about the clay, the feet not cleaving together. The clay and the iron not cleaving together. Okay, let me see. Delete that. Same thing in Mark. Nation rising against nation. You see it? Kingdom against kingdom. Ethnic groups. The nations started in Genesis. Ham, Shem, and Japheth. That's where it started. Man just started calling ourselves different things. Okay. All right. Now this here, I'm just going to show you this. Let's just say you got a biracial person. Half black, half white, which neither is a nationality. You either have one tribe like half descendant of Shem or Ham, or you are European or something. But this is neither one. It's a mixture. I'll show you how easy it is to white yourself out. Now, usually, since we encounter so much self-hate amongst ourselves, when we have biracial children, they go to the European side. They go to the European side. I'm just going to show you what it is. Now you 3/4 white. See, now your DNA is colonized. Now your DNA has been colonized by the colonizer. Or, I wouldn't say it like that. That's not a good... But you see what I'm saying? You're erasing yourself. And then, all it takes is... And you're gone. White it out. Erased. Where are you, Jacob? Where are you, Jacob? Where you at, Jacob? You done turned into a European. You've become a European. You've whited yourself out. You can't never tell any of his people, ancestors, was black. He's completely crossed over. And vice versa. It goes back the other way. I'm reading some Bible verses. This is Joshua 23:12. This is when we're going into the promised land. I know Moses and Joseph married women before the law was written down. I know this. But once, read Deuteronomy 28, when Moses said and the people agreed that we was going to do everything that was written in the law that was just established. We said we was going to do it all. And we didn't. Said we were going to take care to keep the Most High's commandment and instruction that he's given us. Yahushua HaMashiach, the Messiah, said he did not come to destroy the law. So the law is valid. Right? Now, this is Joshua. Therefore take heed to yourself that you love Yahuwah, or else, if indeed you do go back and cling to the remnant of these nations. Now notice the Most High didn't tell us if these women were willing to assimilate into our culture, or these men was willing to live like we did. Notice he didn't tell us to do that. He didn't tell us to keep these different nations as husband and wives if they was willing to submit and come under us. Notice he didn't tell you could he didn't tell us, our forefathers, you could keep your wives, your foreign wives, if they obey the law or they obey the instruction that the Most High gave us. Notice he didn't do that. Ask yourself why. He never said in all these Bible verses that we could keep our pagan wives if they obeyed the Most High's instructions. Think about that. What's going on? Think about genetics. Think about Satan has a seed in Genesis. Think about the strange stuff going on in the human genome. Okay? And for those of you who don't understand, those people that the Most High instructed us to kill and not have pity for, their DNA was corrupted. They had fallen angel DNA. I know some of y'all don't understand that. But let me move on. Let me see what else I got here. Get rid of that. Here's Ezra chapter 10, verse 11. All right, you see the green. Now therefore make confession to Yahuwah, to the Elohim of your forefathers. Make confessions. Go get back to the covenant and do the Most High's will. Separate yourselves from the people of the land and from your pagan wives. Notice, he didn't say, keep clean, see if you can find anyone that was going to obey the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. Notice he didn't say that. He said, separate yourself from the peoples of the land and from the pagan wives. Okay? Here's some more. Here's some more. You ought to read the book of Maccabees. Alexander, it's talking about Alexander the Great. How the Greeks come over and tried to make us forget about our heritage and adopt their pagan ways. Think about the United States today. They want us to stop being who we are and assimilate into their heathenistic ways. You know, they make laws about our hair. Things like that. Just being who we are. They've colonized the word, and so to speak. They've replaced the feast days into pagan holidays. And look at this. But let me go and get on into this. Let me read this. Try not to make this thing too long. This is Maccabees. You can read it. It's the first Maccabees. You ought to read that. Books that these heathens took out the word. In those days went out of Yasharel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and cut a covenant with the heathen. Forget about the covenant we agreed to with the Most High, but cut a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. Since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. These are our own people. Went out men of Israel, wicked men. All right, here's verse chapter 1, verse 15. And then it said they made themselves uncircumcised and forsook the holy covenant and joined themselves to the heathen and were sold to do mischief. These Greeks hung our babies. Read it. They hung our babies. These people, these the same people, killing our babies, hanging our babies, trying to make us become them and forget who we are. That's why they don't teach us who we are. It's not their job really to teach us who we are. That's why we busy go to school, learn all about them. You go to church, you're learning about white people. You turn on the TV, you're getting white thoughts. And then the white supremacists wondering why we going after their women and men. Talk to your people and tell them to quit brainwashing. And but get mad at the higher ups, the ones running the education.